The exodus from America's big cities shows no sign of slowing down as skyrocketing housing prices force many urbanites to seek refuge in more affordable and spacious areas. As housing prices in America's largest cities continue to climb, many urbanites are opting for a more affordable and spacious lifestyle in suburban or rural areas. The trend of leaving big cities is becoming more prevalent as people seek to escape the high cost of living and enjoy a better quality of life. So, where are people headed? In this video, we'll dive deep into why Americans are leaving big cities. Housing prices are a major factor, with many people feeling squeezed out of the market by unaffordable prices. Due to high housing costs, there has been an increasing trend among Americans to leave large cities. Cities where the cost of living has dramatically grown include San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, and Seattle, where this tendency has been particularly apparent. The growing cost of housing is one of the key causes of this trend. The cost of housing has significantly increased as the demand for housing in large cities continues to outpace supply. Many Americans now find it more and more difficult to afford to reside in major places, especially young people and families. The availability of remote work is another element influencing this tendency. Many businesses have adopted remote work because of the COVID-19 epidemic, enabling employees to work from anywhere in the world. People now have the option to relocate from pricey cities to less expensive locations without risking their careers. Many individuals are also looking for a higher standard of living, which includes having access to green places and a slower pace of life. A person's mental health may suffer as a result of the hectic, stressful lives common in many large cities. People might live a quieter, more laid-back lifestyle by relocating to a smaller city or rural area. The economy and the future of cities are significantly impacted by the trend of Americans moving out from large cities because of high housing costs. It might result in a drop in tax income and business activity in these places, which might then result in a fall in the standard of public services, including healthcare, transportation, and education. On the other side, it can also result in a rise in economic activity in rural and smaller communities. Businesses may relocate to these locations as more people do, generating new employment opportunities and enhancing regional economies. In general, the trend of Americans moving out of big cities because of high housing costs is likely to remain for the foreseeable future. Although it could provide difficulties for some cities, it also offers a chance for new growth and development in other regions. According to new research, 2 million people left America's main cities between 2020 and 2022, indicating that the early pandemic pattern of people moving away from urban centres and towards suburbs, exurbs, and smaller cities has become a persistent and potentially concerning trend. A study released by the Economic Innovation Group, a bipartisan public policy organisation, showed that more than 1.2 million people departed the country's large urban counties between July 2020 and July 2021. Between July 2021 and July 2022, an additional 860,000 people left. Large cities were in danger of experiencing sharp population losses until a recent inflow of immigration. A census data compiled by The Hill, even with immigration, shows 17 of the country's 25 largest counties had population declines between April of 2020 and July of 2022. A demographer at the Brookings Institution named William Frey noted that the metros, as a group, lost population for the first time since at least 1990 and probably for decades before that. Many city dwellers are emigrating to smaller towns in quest of space, but more than that, they want more affordable rooms. According to a recent survey, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment now exceeds $2,000 per month in 14 of the country's top 100 cities. The rent in New York is $3,550 a month. San Francisco, it's $3,000, and Los Angeles, it's $2,370. In Washington, it's $2,300. Real estate investment trusts are businesses that purchase up houses in trendy markets and raise rents in accordance with sophisticated algorithms, driving away lower-income renters from the market, according to DC Fowler. Considering the current housing market, purchasing a large city resident could appear even more difficult. Only 2 of the 50 largest US cities, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, were deemed affordable for first-time buyers in a recent analysis. Many Americans are able to switch from pricey properties in cities to less expensive ones in suburbs and smaller cities because of the remote work age. A large-scale study released last year showed 19 million Americans plan to relocate due to remote employment, far outpacing the 4 million who already had done so. Currently, Tampa, Florida has among the highest inflation rates in the nation. The Tampa Metro's area inflation rate was 7.7% in March, according to a study from the Labor Department. However, given that housing expenses have a significant impact, this figure may be deceptive. When housing expenses are taken out of the equation, Tampa's inflation rate falls to just 3.8%. This difference demonstrates how strongly housing and rental costs affect regional inflation. The total inflation rate is frequently substantially greater than in other areas where housing expenses are more affordable. In cities with exceptionally high housing costs, this indicates that because of the high cost of living, residents of these cities pay more for basic products and services. It's crucial to remember that depending on the region, the effect of housing expenses on inflation rates can change. Despite the high cost of housing in Tampa, the general inflation rate is not much greater than it is in other parts of the nation. In actuality, Tampa's inflation rate is comparable to the Minneapolis region, where the exclusion of housing expenses resulted in an inflation rate of 3.6%. This shows that there may be more factors causing inflation in the Tampa area, such as supply chain interruptions or rising commodity costs. The expense of living in the city is obviously influenced by the high housing costs, but they're not the only thing causing inflation. Overall, the Tampa case demonstrates the complexity of local inflation rates and how housing expenses affect these rates. Although high housing expenses might lead to greater inflation rates, it's vital to take other variables into account that might be present in each particular area. Policymakers can create more effective ways to solve economic issues affecting their communities by adopting a more comprehensive understanding of inflation rates. Florida was the most common state for people to relocate to in 2022, while California was the state people left most frequently. North Carolina was ranked third, with Texas being the second most popular state among travelers from the United States. California is many Americans' ideal state, but the three states with the most citizens who moved out of state were California, New York, and Illinois. California is a stunning state with many large cities and a wide variety of recreational opportunities. However, in contrast to other states, it's also very pricey. New York is in a similar situation, and although Illinois' population declines may be explained by younger citizens moving out of the state in search of employment elsewhere, it is also a similar situation. Even outside of big cities, places like Florida, Texas, and North Carolina are still comparatively more affordable than many other states. These states are also fantastic choices for people looking for remote employment or tech jobs. 61% of Americans relocated within 20 miles from their prior residence. This is at a time when 53% of respondents said they don't think it's a good time to cross the country, probably because doing so is so expensive. Americans who live in states where moving less than 20 miles away implies they'll still end up in another state, and with a change of scenery may find moving across the nation less tempting. Consider the states of Delaware, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, for instance. Even still, 1 in 8 Americans, or 12%, claim to have made the decision to relocate more than 100 miles in 2022. Moving distances of more than 10 miles but fewer than 20 miles were the most typical. The three main reasons Americans relocated were to live in a more affordable area, buy a bigger home, and improve their quality of life. Quality of life came in first with 24% importance rating. However, Americans are also placing a higher value on factors like better weather, recreational possibilities, and improved infrastructure than on things like affordability and proximity to family. Since the concept of quality of life can be a little ambiguous, we asked Americans to define it specifically. These values were ranked by Americans from most important at number 1 to the least important at number 10. Our scale determined that affordable housing, 4.84 average rank, and safe areas, 4.68 average rank, were the most significant factors. It's noteworthy that affordability is a leading predictor of quality of life, considering that, when asked, Americans rank better quality of life higher than overall cost of living. Thank you for watching this video on the topic of Americans leaving big cities due to high housing prices. It's clear that this trend has significant implications for both the economy and the future of our cities. While it may pose challenges for some urban centres, it also presents opportunities for growth and development in other areas. But what do you think about this trend? Do you think it will continue to grow, or will there be a reversal as the economy recovers? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content.